Okay, so basically for the period of time that was long time ago, and you don't even remember when it was or how long it was, it worked when you did the practice, right?
It works when you work on yourself, yes.
Okay, so those time when you were saying that mantra, I'm beautiful, I'm powerful, I'm la, it was working for you.
Yes.
And then life happens. How did
Yes.
life happen?
Different events in life. And
Like?
like I don't know, something that can just set you back, where you don't become your center of your focus anymore, and you have to deal with other things. It just, your focus gets off of yourself.
Okay, so isn't this, in any case, when we set goals, when we set New Year resolution, it works for a short time, but then life happens, other things becomes more significant,
Yes.
and then we just drop the ball because something comes up, and then this will go down, right?
Yes, and that was one of my questions for you, is that once you lose that motivation and lose that focus, how do you get yourself back up again? How do you...
Aha! And I have an answer for you.
Yes.
So basically, going back to what I said a minute ago, I said in our mind, like a scale, things start moving, right? Are you with me?
Yes.
So let's say at a point you realize that your self-love is very low. The battery is showing, it's red, and it needs to be charged, right? So you put the charger for self-love, which is right now here, and something else is up. Eventually the batteries start filling up and you're feeling a little bit love. And then something happens, you lose your job, your boyfriend drops you, your parents or somebody dies, and then because there is no awareness of something beyond the conscious to absorb this scale, to create the balance the whole time, unconsciously the scale changes dramatically.
I'm confused.
Okay, let me go back. I believe we live our lives not consciously, but unconsciously, right?
Subconsciously, or?
Being conscious is I'm aware.
Yes.
I'm aware how I feel in my stomach right now. I can block everything else and I can totally be present and feeling how this part of my tiny finger feels, right? I can be totally focused here, right?
Yes.
This is where I'm conscious. I'm conscious of how I feel in my body. I'm conscious about everything around me, the energy of this room, right? And everything else. And every object that's here, I feel the energy. Every person, every entity, visible, invisible in here, I'm conscious of them.
Yes.
So most of people, the majority of time, are living unconsciously and they have no clue how they got there. That's living unconsciously, right?
It would be subconsciously.
Forget about, put the conscious and subconscious away. We're talking about conscious, unconscious. So conscious is, I explained what conscious is. I'm totally aware and present of what's going on in my body and all around me. This is conscious, right?
Yes.
Unconscious is that I'm not totally here. I can drive from my house to an hour away somewhere, but I'm so into my thoughts, my brain, and the voice in my head that once I reach my destination, I have no clue how I went from A to B.
Yes.
Do you get that?
Yes.
So that's unconscious. Like I don't have any memory. Where was the stop sign? Did I brake? Did the light goes on? Everything happened automatically, but I wasn't conscious. I was unconscious going through that process.
Yes.
You got that now?
Yes, it's just the wording for a lot of people, unconscious means like you're passed out and not conscious. So the term that people would use is their subconscious. It was driving instead of being on, because you can't pass out and drive at the same time.
Right, but we also use this term in metaphysics and spirituality.
Okay.
It's a term that we use that I'm living my life consciously, or most people live their lives unconsciously.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you so much for clearing that for me. All right. So let's go back to what I was saying. When you were conscious, on your conscious mind, you decided, you realized, you were conscious enough to realize that you don't have enough self-love for yourself, right?
Yes.
So you charge the battery to charge the self-love from red zone, from 0 to come up, right?
And I can tell you, now that I'm thinking about it, when it was and how it died down.
Okay,
Would
tell
you
me.
like to hear?
Yes!
Okay. So it was about when I was around 20 years old, is when I took a lot of self-healing workshops. And from there I learned the self-love and the building up of my confidence and self-esteem and all of that. And when it died down is when life happened, when my dad passed away. So after that, it's like, who cares about my confidence or love?
Self-love. Who needs the self-love now?
Yeah, so it became in the background and slowly it faded away.
Okay. So thank you for sharing that. Sure. I appreciate it. So basically, at the point when you realize that there was no self-love, you start filling up the battery by taking classes, teaching. That became your priority, right?
Yes.
So it moved up the scale. It was moving eventually to come and reach the full, for your battery to be fully charged. But before you reach that, your father passed away. So suddenly, this scale, the importance of this scale changed. The death of your father moved right away up, and the self-love and self-discovery moved down.
Yes.
Right? This happened according to how I describe living consciously and unconsciously. You became unconscious. So because you lost being conscious that, oh, I was just filling up my battery for self-worth, I shouldn't be losing that. You just went unconsciously with the trauma and the scale changed dramatically, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I basically answered your question regarding when traumas happens, when things shows up, life happen, how would we taking control, or how would we avoid that? My answer would be to ask, sit in your silence and ask yourself, am I living my life consciously or am I living unconsciously? right? Because when you are aware, you living conscious, your inner guidance would tell you where is the red zone, where your battery needs to be charged, what to drop, and how to monitor this scale. Am I making sense?
Yes, but that takes me to my next question is that, okay, when you have a death in the family, like a father passing away, you gain depression, anxiety, stress, all of the things that come with death. For me, that's what happened. So once you're in that state, you don't really care about anything else. There's no motivation for whether I have self-love or what I'm doing for work, or, you know, and I know a lot of people go through this where they are depressed and they don't have any of that motivation anymore. How do you go from that to bringing this scale up and building from that? How do you go from 0 to 100? Or even negative 0, under 0?
I want you to hold this question here because I want to add another part to our last section and then come back here.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Of course.
Okay. So going back to I want to add this part that when I was putting emphasis of really having clear vision, how many, when I keep putting emphasis of how many people do you want to have on as a viewer, Instagram, YouTube, your TV show, blah, blah, and we pushed it up to 100,000. And I keep asking you, what would this give you, and what would it give or add to better other people's lives? The importance that I was trying to make there is going to have a huge effects on how you're going to go about your daily lives. And when trauma shows up, how you're going to act. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, when I feel like my major goal is to have 100,000 people, and I really know, it's really clear to me, why do I want it? How is it going to make me feel? If I feel that this is making me feel really amazing, it makes me feel good. And because after all, anything that we do, Vanessa, John, what do we do it? Because we want to feel good and we want to be loved. So if I feel like I'm getting 100,000 viewers, I'm giving them value to their lives, to better their lives. And these 100,000 people, they love me, and every day they're writing me letters. We love you. You transform my lives. You did blah, 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 blah. And then boom, a trauma happens. My father dies. When I'm so juiced and high up here, the effect, not that the death of my father is not going to touch me, of course it would. But I am so juiced up and so satisfied, I'm getting so much love over here, that the death of my father is not going to have so much importance, and the value of it and the way I would deal with it and the timing that I forget it and I just deal with it, it will change. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, if I don't have, if I'm nobody, if I don't really have goals, if I'm struggling with lives, and then my father dies, it's a major trauma because I didn't have anything here to be juiced about and to be motivated about and to fulfill me and give me joy and love. I didn't have that to begin with anyways. So when a trauma happens, the load of it becomes so much more, and I go much deeper into what it was from the beginning. But remember, depression is a state, right? So if I'm nobody, depression, it would be a part. They're just feeding one another. Can you find depressed people who are on high success and fame and a lot of it? Very seldom we see people who are self-motivated. They build everything. They raise their ladder. They made themselves to go on top. All the fulfillment, enjoyment that I made it on my own, I succeed. Rarely you would see depression on those people. Do you agree? Right?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. So depression is when I haven't achieved anything, I didn't become anybody, I can't even do blah, blah, blah. That's part of depression. So depression and unworthiness and not having enough self-worth, these are the same energy that they're feeding one another, right?
So what you're explaining to me is that if I have that before, how you explained it right now is that, okay, I'm making the YouTube videos, I'm doing the 100,000 people, and then a trauma happens. What if that wasn't there to begin with? And how do you pick yourself up from that trauma into starting something brand new and getting that goal up there?
I didn't quite get the question. Are you up there with those hundreds of viewers and getting the satisfaction? Are you there or not?
No, what I'm saying is that the way I understood you explaining it is that if you have those goals already and you are motivating those 100,000 people and then a trauma happens, then the trauma won't be as hard because
absolutely
you have that. So what I'm asking is, let's say you haven't started that 100,000, you haven't had those goals yet, you're not the person you want to be yet, and then you have a trauma like that. How do you start from that negative zero to the 100,000 goal?
I got it now.
Let's go.
Yes. So I think the main questions that you and I would ask ourselves is, do I still want to live the old story?
Some people can say no, but their actions are different than.
So basically, first I ask the question and I be truly honest with myself. I would ask myself, do I still want to live the same story?
I would say no.
Okay. So the old story hasn't served me well. It's been a lot of heartache, it's been a lot of pain and suffering.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate and say that for a lot of people seeing you, when you said you are an actress and you know how to play a role, and for someone that is not happy, is going through a trauma, is
I got it. You
depressed.
want to know how to build that character.
Yeah, how do you just become an actress and start every day as somebody else?
If somebody, Steven Spielberg, will call me up today and he says, we will pay you $3.5 billion to play this character. And I say to Spielberg, contact me later. No, I would say, what character? Yes, I'm excited. I want to know about it. So he sent me the script and I read the script. The script say, you are a loser, you're nobody, you haven't done anything in your life, you haven't achieved anything, you are totally loser, and now this character needs a total transformation to become a hero, strong, motivated, self-motivated, taking the ladders up, happy and joyful, and have everything that it wants. For $3.5 million, would I be spending that time and do whatever I can to build this character?
Of course you would.
Would you?
I would.
Okay.
Who wouldn't? But then that's hypothetically speaking.
Okay.
That's not a real motivation, is it?
No. But let's find out self-motivated people. How do their brain functions? What is their character? I have to tell you that I have been among those unfortunate that I have never ever had anybody in my life to motivate me. I left my family when I was 18 years old, and ever since I've been on my own feet, putting myself into college, working and doing everything, and never ever 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 I had anyone to motivate me on anything. So I think what helped me out is the way my brain functions. It's the optimism, positive. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we got to look at the brain. What could we do to pump in more dopamine and serotonin and happy mood? Because if that's in you, if that's the way, if you're optimism, you see everything positively, right?
Yes.
So it's totally different the way you act with this brain function that somebody does, oh my God, it's totally dark and nothing is happening. So I think at the level of brain functions, we need to make some adjustment there. How to change the black to white. Or we cannot make the black into white right at once. We got to do a lot of mixing of white into the black to bring it into dark gray and eventually lighter gray, and eventually we're going to get into white, right?
Yes.
So it's going to take some time to change the brain, the way we think, and it starts by thinking. We got to change the way we think.
Yes, and I want to actually stop you there because we're done for today for this episode, but we will pick up on that, on how to go from the darkness into the light for our next episode.
Great. Awesome.
Thank you very much, Sudi.
Thank you so much. Love and blessing.